Hi, my name is Nina and I work here at the Corner Uniting Church. And what you're about to hear is a recording of a message we did in our brand new monthly worship service that we've just started called Evenings at the Corner. So we hope you enjoy watching, and if you're interested in joining us face to face, we meet the second Sunday of the month at the Corner Uniting Church. So check out all our socials for any more details. But before we go any further, let us have our acknowledgement of country. For thousands of years, the Kaurna people have walked on the land that I am standing on today. We acknowledge them as the traditional owners and recognise their care and continued connection with this land. We acknowledge their elders past, present and emerging, and pay respect to any Kaurna or other Aboriginal people joining us today. As a church community, we commit to actively work alongside Aboriginal people for truth, unity, equity, equality, and healing. Now, before we hear our Bible reading for today, I want to give a bit of context about what we're about to hear. This helps us to understand where the story fits in the bigger picture of this story and in the bigger picture of the whole Bible. So, the story we are hearing about happens right after Easter. Jesus has died on the Friday and comes back to life on the Sunday. And for those of you that have heard the story before, will know Jesus' followers have been told that Jesus is alive by several women who went to visit his tomb on the Sunday. But when they got there, the stone covering the opening had been moved and Jesus' body was gone. And depending on which version of the story you're reading, either an angel or Jesus himself appears to them and tells them, Jesus is alive. They are so excited, they run to tell the rest of Jesus' followers, or as they're sometimes referred to in the story, his disciples. The story we are hearing today happens on the same day, just later in the evening. So let's have a listen and see what happens next. John chapter 20, verses 19 to 31. On the evening of that first day of the week, when the disciples were together, with the doors locked for fear of the Jewish leaders, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." After he said this, he showed them his hands and side. The disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. Again, Jesus said, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you." And with that he breathed on them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive others' sins, their sins are forgiven. If you do not forgive them, they are not forgiven." Now Thomas, also known as Didymus, one of the 12, was not with the disciples when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands, and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." A week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here, see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." Thomas said to him, "My Lord and my God." Then Jesus told him, "Because you have seen, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." Jesus performed many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not recorded in this book. But these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. So, now that we've heard our Bible reading for today, Now is time for us to delve in to what it could mean and what it could be saying to us about God, about our faith, or about ourselves. Part of the process of preparing for this is doing a lot of reading, researching, and reflecting. There is so much we can learn about the context of the Bible passage. Its possible meanings, its translations, its connections to other parts of the Bible. People can literally spend entire lifetimes studying the Bible. And I'm not talking about the whole Bible, I'm just talking about little parts of it. So, with so much that we can learn, how can we decide what it is we're going to talk about? Because if I talked about all of it, I would be here for hours. So for me, I tend to focus on something that stands out to me, inspires me, or is relevant to the people I'm talking to. And most of the time, it's all three of those things. Something that stood out to me this time was a single sentence I found when I was in the researching phase. It was about Jesus' followers' reactions to seeing Jesus. When Jesus appeared in the locked room with them, I think it would have been pretty fair to assume they were shocked. And after shock would have come joy. But this is something pretty major happening to them. Surely they were feeling more than just shock and then joy. Maybe they were feeling a little bit of fear and anxiety. I mean, it had been a pretty rough couple of days/weeks. I wonder if when they see Jesus, they think about themselves. They think about how they'd behaved and acted the last few times they saw him. I wonder if they're concerned that they hadn't been acting their best. Let's have a look at how some of Jesus' followers had acted in the last few days. I mean, first up we have Judas, who betrayed Jesus and turned him into the political and religious leaders who killed him. And I imagine the other disciples would have been feeling a little bit guilty that they hadn't figured out what he was up to. Then we have Jesus, before he's arrested, asking his disciples to come and pray with him. And what do? They fall asleep multiple times. Then, when Jesus is actually being arrested, Peter gets super defensive, pulls out his sword, and cuts off someone's ear. And then after that, after Jesus dies, Peter denies even knowing Jesus. And these are just the stories I could find. I imagine there were many more that weren't written down. I imagine his followers might have even been feeling a little bit guilty that Jesus had told them he would come back to life, and they didn't really believe him till they saw him right then and there. I just kind of imagine someone's internal voice being like, "It's Jesus! Oh no, he's alive! Do you think I'm in trouble? He's actually here! Do you think he's disappointed in me? Yay?" Jesus' first words to his followers are, "Peace be with you." This is a traditional greeting of the time, and part of its meaning literally means, "I wish you peace." In other words, Jesus is saying to them, take a breath. It's okay. I'm here. These were Jesus' friends. He would have known the pain, the grief, and the fear they had been experiencing over the last few days. He would have known the fear and anxiety they were feeling now. He would have known they didn't need telling off. They needed love and forgiveness. We see the same thing happen later in our Bible reading when Jesus appears again and Thomas sees him for the first time. It's really Jesus! Oh no, I should have believed the others. I can't believe he's actually here. Do you think he's going to be mad at me? This is amazing. I can't believe I didn't trust him. Yay? And again, Jesus' first words are, "Peace be with you. Take a breath. It's okay. I'm here." I find it interesting that when Jesus appears a second time, we hear that the doors to the room are locked again. Are we told this so it seems so miraculous when Jesus enters a locked room for the second time? Or does it show that Jesus' followers are still scared? They're still worried. Maybe worried about the religious and political situation. Or maybe that the locked door was just a sign they were still worried about how Jesus might respond to them. While much of this second interaction appears to be with Thomas, the greeting, "Peace be with you," was said first and to all of them. Maybe Jesus knew that fear and anxiety doesn't just disappear. Jesus knew they needed to be reminded to take a breath, that it was okay, that he was here. How often do we lock the door in our lives? I mean, the metaphorical door, I hope we're literally locking the doors quite regularly, because safety first, people. Locked doors are important. They can keep us safe, they can give us control, and they can protect us. But how often do we lock the door to Jesus? How often do we use the door and the lock to keep Jesus over there? To keep Jesus out of our lives and out of our hearts? I've done it. I have been in church my whole life. I have known Jesus loves me for as long as I can remember. But when I came out as gay, I shut the door to Jesus. I mean, I knew Jesus loved me, but I was scared. I wanted to be safe. I wanted to be in control, and I wanted to be protected. So fear and anxiety bolted the door shut and maybe even pushed a bookcase up against it for good measure. I thought by locking the door to Jesus, I would be safe against any thoughts that Jesus might not love me as much anymore. I could control any thoughts that Jesus might be disappointed in me. I could protect myself from having to consider that Jesus might think I was wrong. These were pretty strong, honest, and valid reasons for me to keep that door firmly shut. Living in that locked room felt safer, but it was limiting. I was locked in the room and I couldn't leave. Fear and anxiety started as my protectors, but kind of became my captors. Those fears that I had were based on a reality, on the perceptions and opinions of people in my own life and in LGBTQA+ people's lives all over the world, and are particularly prevalent in the church. But on the other side of that locked door wasn't those people. It was Jesus. Jesus who greeted his disciples with "Peace be with you." Jesus who greeted me when I was ready to unlock the door with "Take a breath. It's okay. I'm here." While I do remember a particular moment of feeling that peace, unlocking the door isn't a one-time thing. Like our story today, fear and anxiety lead us back into the room. They lead us into locking that door. But our story tells us Jesus is still there to offer peace to us again and again. This is just my story, and I wonder how many others are leaving behind locked doors. Fear and anxiety telling them that it is the only safe space. That opening the door means opening themselves up to rejection, hurt, and judgment. How many people are desperately needing to hear the words, "Peace be with you." I mentioned earlier that part of the meaning of "peace be with you" is wishing peace to another person. But there's also another meaning to this greeting. It's actually a reminder to the person we're speaking to about their role and responsibility in bringing peace, harmony, and justice to the world. So when Jesus says to his followers, "Peace be with you," he's saying more than just be at peace within themselves. This is actually further enforced when he tells his followers, "As the Father has sent me, I am sending you." I think Jesus is telling them that the locked door is not the ending of this story. It's maybe the beginning. They've had an experience of working, learning, and living beside Jesus. They've had this extraordinary moment of meeting him when he comes back to life. They've experienced Jesus' love, forgiveness, and peace. And now that they have seen it, experienced it, and lived it, tell the world about it. Tell the world their story with Jesus, their story of God's incredible impact on their lives. Tell the story of Jesus. Tell the story of God. And I think that's what this story can say to us. Yes, it can be a reassurance of hearing about Jesus' love and forgiveness and peace for each of us. But it can also be a call for us to tell the world our story, and in that, the story of Jesus. I wanted to leave you a little example from my story. The statement we have on all of our Corner Uniting Church materials that says, all people are safe, welcome, and accepted, comes from a response to my locked door moment. I know it matters for people to know they are safe. So I and others wanted to make sure people knew it was safe here. That those who were coming out or were out or didn't feel like they fit in other places for a number of reasons knew that this was a place they could feel safe and a place they could unlock their door. Our locked door moments or stories can help others find the courage to unlock their own doors. Find the courage to see the person standing behind it is Jesus, desperately wanting to say, peace be with you.